When I say computer security, let me tell you what do I mean by computer here, right? So basically, we will discuss what are the assets of computer that we need to secure, or what are the assets that actually require the protection, from the adversary. Okay. So broadly, I can say that the asset can be categorized into these four things, right? The first asset could be hardware, which includes computer system and other devices that are related with data processing, data storage, and data communication, right? So, for example, when we talk about when we talk about processing of data, it involves CPU, GPU, right? Memory, all the underlying hardware that involved in data processing, right? When I say data storage, it involves all the huge servers that are out there, including all the infrastructure provided by the cloud, including a simple databases which are available on our systems, right? Hard disk databases, all the storage devices. So databases is not the part of the hardware definitely, but the servers which actually store the data, the hardware part of the thing, along with all the hard disk and external storage and all the devices which are related with data storage. Then comes data communication devices, which actually related with the network, network related infrastructure, right? So all that part or all that devices will come under hardware. And when I say computer security, we have to have a quick look that how we can provide protection to these devices, right? The second asset is software asset, which are actually installed on the underlying hardware. So first there is a hardware layer, and then we have some softwares installed on this hardware, right? So the first software that comes into our mind is the operating system, right? So we will see, the security related with operating system in system security. We will also deal here with other system utilities. Okay, so there are device drivers, there are many other applications that actually make our system work on, that actually allow us to communicate with the hardware. Okay, and then all the underlying applications which we do use in our day-to-day life, right? It includes all the applications that come with the system. It includes all the applications that we as a user install on our system to achieve a specific goal. Okay, so all those things will come under software asset, right? And we will see how to protect or how to provide security to all such software piece of thing which is there in our computer system, right? Then when we work with softwares, definitely there is data involved, or data or information which is involved in that. So when I say data security, so this particular data includes, this particular asset includes all the files, all the databases that actually contain your data. Okay, it includes all the security related data. So if you are storing your passwords file, if you are so when I say data, it includes each and every piece of your data, whether it is a personal data which is specific to you, whether it is a data related to the company in which you are working, whether it is data related to a specific person, or any kind of data, right? So this is another asset of our computer system that actually requires the protection. Okay, and the fourth category is communication facilities and network. Okay, so wherever we communicate, all the infrastructure that actually provide or allow us to communicate over network will come under this particular category. Okay, whether it is a local area network or wide area network, or it is a VPN, or is it ISP that we are concerned with, or all the communication links, bridges, routers, access points, each and everything which will allow communication facility will come under this particular category. Okay, so overall, if I have to somehow formalize the thing. So when we say computer security, with computer I mean these four broad categories. Okay, everything that comes under these four broad categories. Okay? And these are called as assets of our computer system. We have to preserve them, right? Okay, so let's move forward. I would like to take you through some terminologies which is very important in cybersecurity, and we will keep on using these terms again and again in all our future classes, right? So let me explain you what actually all these terms means, and how we can somehow so there are some thin lines between different terms, right? So how we can define what is threat, how we can define what is attack, how we can differentiate a threat with an attack, what are the types of attack, etc., right? When a threat to a system is any potential occurrence, okay, it is any potential occurrence, malicious or otherwise, that can have adverse effect on the assets and resources which are associated with our system. So threat is something where we will say that, okay, probably, okay, this may happen, that this particular piece of hardware will be stolen. Okay, it may be possible that your hard disk will be corrupted. It may be possible that your a particular piece of software has been hacked, or it has been encrypted, right? So some sort of ransomware attack or something like that. So when I say that if there is a possibility of occurrence of some bad things to your system, or something which actually have an adverse effect on your system, then we call it as a threat. Okay, so when we say threat, we are only talking about the possibilities of the attack. Okay, these are the possibilities of the attack. And what do we mean by attack? Attack is when the threat is actually in action, right? So some action involves exploitation of vulnerability. Now, vulnerability is something which actually combines or take you through threat to attack. Okay, so generally what happens, we are having a computer system, right? If it is having a vulnerability, okay, so when I say computer system, I include hardware, software, data, and the network part that we have discussed, right? All the assets of the computer system. So if we are using a particular computer system and it is having some or the other vulnerability, okay, and by vulnerability what I mean is, if in the system there is some issue or characteristics that actually make it possible for a threat to occur, is known as vulnerability. Are you getting my point? There is some weakness, we can say. There is some weakness of the system which allow the threat to actually happen in practical. Okay, so somehow vulnerability is a term which actually make the threat into action, or which actually make threat an attack, an actual attack, right? So when the attack actually happen, we call it as attack. When we think of a possible attack, we call it as a threat. Okay, I hope I'm clear in this. Any question? So if I have to give a real world example, we can think of it as uh, a possibility of attack is someone could come into your room and rob you. Okay, this is one possible threat which is there. Okay, so this we call this a threat, that someone could come into the room and rob us, right? What is the vulnerability? Can you think of any vulnerability that can
The door is
actually?
open.
The door is open, right? So door is open is one of the vulnerability, and if the door is open, there are high chances that the threat is actually get converted to attack. Is actually someone came to your room with a knife or something like that and ask you ask some or the other assets of your house. Okay, so this is the difference between threat and attack, and vulnerability is something which we want to keep as minimum as possible. Okay, so actually, we don't we so if we say this system is 100% secure, so this is a false statement. This is a wrong statement actually. There is no system which is 100% secure. Okay, there are some or the other ways in which you can breach the security of any system in the world. Okay, so nobody can claim that this system is 100% secure system. I already told you that the only system which is 100% secure is a system which is actually locked, completely locked, all connection lost, and you completely lock that system into some sort of vault and just put it deep dive into the sea. Okay, and never see that is the only system which is 100% secure. Otherwise, in all other systems which are actually the practical system through which you can work with, are not at all not at all 100% secure, because there are thousands and thousands of different ways in which an attacker can launch an attack on the system, right? And the aim of, so you may ask that, ma'am, if we cannot achieve this 100% security, I mean, what is the goal to learn then this subject, right? So can anybody answer me this? What actually we are trying, see, I am saying we cannot
Ma'am,
achieve 100% security, then what we are trying to achieve?
um,
We can
ma-
achieve up to some extent.
ma'am, I think what we're trying to do is basically minimize risk rather than completely eliminate the risk of any kind of possible breach.
That is exactly what we are trying to do here, right? You are very correct. What we are trying to do is we try to somehow have a look at all the possible vulnerabilities that we can, take care of, in order to somehow minimize the possibility of conversion of a threat into an attack. Okay, and we just want to keep this as minimum as possible. We just want to keep it as low as possible. Okay, so this is the overall goal of computer security, that somehow we try to minimize the possibility of an actual attack to happen. Okay, so yes, so this is the case. Okay, any question here? All right. So, so actually, when we say that, okay, we are just trying to minimize, the vulnerabilities, because vulnerability is something which actually convert the threat into attack, right? So, if you want to minimize the vulnerabilities, you have to identify the potential threats that can occur in your system. Are you getting my point? Right? So if we know that, okay, these are the possibilities, or these are the possible ways in which an attacker can attack, then definitely I will try to somehow put some security mechanism at each and every openings, of the system, so that it actually minimize the actual attack to happen. Okay, so our aim is to minimize the vulnerabilities, but in order to achieve this goal, we have to see, or we have to first identify or analyze all the threats that could be possible in our system. Right. So with that, let me take you to different classes of threats. Let's understand threats, in detail. Okay. So threats in the system is actually classified into these four broad categories. Okay. So there are lots and lots of threats which could be possible, but in some or the other way we can say, or we can identify, in each particular threat has, one of these, or combination of these four categories. Okay, so let's have a look at these broad categories, and then we will delve deep into threats and attack more. Okay, so the first class I would like to mention is disclosure. Okay, and disclosure is actually when the information is revealed. Okay, uh, rather I should say revelation of information to an unauthorized user. Right. So when the information is revealed to a person who is not authorized to access that information, then that particular thing is called disclosure. Are you getting my point? Can anybody of you can give some example of this threat?
Ma'am,
Uh,
using an HTTP website.
Okay. So what happened in that case? Using HTTP website, what is the problem? Where this
The
threat is
data
actually. Hmm?
that is being transferred can be hacked or accessed by someone very easily.
Right. So basically, when we say disclosure, disclosure basically means just the revelation of information. Okay. So suppose I am sending some information as Alice and Bob. We will take this example. Alice is sending some information to Bob. Okay, through a communication channel. Suppose there is the problem or some vulnerability present at this particular communication channel. What say some third person or attacker, or you can say man in the middle, what he can do, let's say Eve, what he can do, he can somehow exploit this vulnerability to have a look at what you are communicating or what Alice is communicating with Bob. Okay. Now, when I say disclosure attack or disclosure threat, what Eve is doing, Eve is just monitoring the information that is flowing. Okay, he is not modifying the information, he is not somehow masquerading the information, he is doing nothing, he is just monitoring, he is just watching what you are communicating, right? Sometimes we use a term eavesdropping, right? What do you mean by eavesdropping? What do you mean by eavesdropping? So this is done.
Listening to others' conversation secretly.
Right, listening to others conversation without knowing, without their knowledge. Okay, so two people are communicating with each other and you are just hiding at the back of some wall and listening to them, right? This is what eavesdropping is. So disclosure of information is something like that. Two people are communicating with each other assuming that only these two parties or only the authorized parties are having the access of this information, but somehow unauthorizedly another person is having the access, and that is known as disclosure. Okay, and one of the attack which have this disclosure thing is called snooping attack. Okay, what do you mean by snooping? So when you are communicating with when you are communicating or when people are communicating, snooping is an attack which involves passive wiretapping. Okay, they wiretap or they do tapping of your phone lines or email addresses, email communication channels or things like that, so that they can access they can have the access of communication that is going around. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yes.
would packet sniffing come under snooping?
Yes. Packet. So see, sniffing is a little bit what we call a
Umbrella term.
higher term. Yeah. Okay. So in snooping, what people are doing, they are just monitoring. Okay, they are not doing any kind of modification or any kind of disruption to the information. Okay, the only thing is they are having the access of the information. Okay, and when we go to another threat of another class of threat, that is deception or disruption, right? You will see that sniffing in particular lies under these two categories. Okay, so when I say, okay, if somebody has to modify, first he will have to get the access of that data also. Okay, so therefore disclosure is always there. Disclosure is always there. So therefore this is the very much a higher level term to have with. Okay, and generally these four categories are overlapped with each other. There are many attacks which may come under multiple classes. Okay, but yes, sniffing, you can call it as a disclosure as well, because in sniffing you hack the packet, you get the packet, right, and you are looking at the packet. So this is definitely the disclosure. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So the second class is deception. Deception. In deceptions, we actually deals here with false or fake information. Okay. The authorized user. So I can write here as false or fake information to an authorized user. You are getting some information. So suppose you want to know that uh, how many COVID cases are there in India today. Okay, and some website will give you the information that this many cases are there. And suppose that particular website is a fake website, right? So there is some different motive of that website to give you this information. So then this comes under deception threat. Okay, when a user receives a false information or a fake information, okay, it is vice versa as well, right? So if I'm sending information as so I am an attacker, okay, and I am sending the information and it is not the right information to send, or I am somehow masquerading the information, or somehow uh, a simple attack that I can explain here is you might come across something called a fake websites, right? Fake web pages. So you just want to access say Facebook. You click on a particular link which somebody will share. You just click on that link, and it just open a page which looks similar to as what Facebook official page looks like. Okay, and you just try to enter your credentials, login credentials into that website. Okay, and those credentials, since it is a fake website, those credentials uh, will be leaked, or will go into unauthorized, in the hands of unauthorized users. Okay, so this is a threat which comes under deception. Are you getting my point? Yes, any question here? Okay, and
Ma'am,
yes,
what you're describing is kind of like a push like architecture where the client is contacting the server, and then the server, if it's unauthorized, then it's providing wrong information. What about
yes,
some
right.
kind of pull kind of architecture where like some fake server is sending lot of authorized Gmail users some fake spam email
Hmm.
to would that
Yes.
fall under this?
Yes, no, that will not come under deception. That will come under disruption and usurpation. Okay, so I will come into
Oh,
that. What you are saying is somehow called maybe spamming, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we will have a look of that in a minute. Okay. Okay, so deception here basically means ki to the authorized user some wrong information is delegated. This is what deception means. Okay, it could be a modified information. It could be a spoofed information. I mean, by spoofing, I mean, uh, so I want to say authorized spoofing. Okay, the one to which authority is delegated does not impersonate the delegator, but we generally assert the authority to act as an agent for the delegator. Okay, it seems like we are the one who are sending the information, but actually we are not sending the information. In place of us, some unauthorized delegator is sending the information. Okay, this is what deception or spoofing means. Okay, you are spoofed, your identity is spoofed. Okay, then there are repudiation of origin and denial of recipient. We will just discuss these two attack in maybe after few slides, right? But if I have to give a brief idea about this, repudiation of origin means somebody is sending some information. So suppose I will send you a email, okay, uh, giving you some wrong information. Say I will say that today there is a holiday and there will be no class at all for any subject, okay, which is a wrong information, right? And then later on I will just repudiate from what I did. Okay, I just deny that no, I never sent such information to any of the students. So this is called repudiation of origin. Okay, I am somehow denying from the act that I did. Okay. Similarly, there is a denial of recipient. You receive an email. I told you that today there is a class. Okay, and some student may come up and he will say, no, I never received such an email. Okay, so this is called denial of recipient. Okay, so these type of threats come under deception category. I hope I am making sense here. Yes. Okay. Am I audible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, yeah. Any question? Okay, I hope not. Right. So the third class is disruption. What do we mean by disruption? So disruption means it involves with interruption or prevention of some communication from happening. See, in disclosure, we are just somehow monitoring. The attacker is just monitoring the things. In deception, it involves some sort of modifications or falsiness as well. But in case of disruption, we are trying to interrupt some sort of service which is there. We are trying to prevent some sort of communication from actually happening it. Okay, so disruption basically deals with obstruction, or some sort of denial thing, you can say. Okay, it involves modification definitely. And as somebody is asking about spamming, so we can consider spamming under disruption also and under usurpation also. How we can consider it under disruption? So let me tell you. Suppose your email is spammed with lots and lots and lots of emails, right? And because of this spamming, you are not able to read the genuine message. Okay, suppose a server is loaded with so many fake requests so that it is not able to handle the genuine request. Okay, so here you can see some sort of disruption of service is involved. Okay, whether it is a reading a mail or it is serving a particular request. Okay, so when some sort of interruption or some sort of prevention of service is involved, we call it as a threat under class disruption. Are you getting the point? Yes. Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
but we can't save deception, fake or false information, right? I remember one case of my school. A threat email came that a bomb has been planted in school.
Mm-hmm.
So the our school need to evacuate. Fire brigades came and these sort of things happen. So what if 365 out of 365 days a mail come like this? So the school has no option to evacuate their students.
Yes.
So
So basically,
what can they
so
do
this,
further?
yeah. So the attack that you described comes under deception because there is some false or fake information which is involved there, right? By spamming, I mean there are lots and lots of messages which are, targeting your email address. Means one day you just open your mailbox and you see there are 5,000 unread messages in your email box. Okay, this is something which is called spamming attack. Your mail is spammed, with lots and lots of junk emails. Okay, the case you are describing is a case of one spam message. Okay, so when I say spamming means just bombard your email address with lots and lots of spammed messages. Are you able to see the difference? You
Yes,
might,
ma'am.
yes, you might have come across this term also, denial of service, DOS attack. Okay, so DOS attack, denial of service attack. Sometimes it may happen that you want to, so suppose there is a paper deadline, or you have to submit a form at exactly by sharp by 5 p.m. That is the deadline. Okay, you are submitting some proposal, and the deadline is 5 p.m. Generally, what people do, people will just maybe in the span of last 5 minutes, there are lots and lots of requests which are coming, right? During that time, if suppose there are thousands fake requests who just want to access the server for simple queries, and I think you might have observed this on the this IRCTC e-booking system, okay, the railway booking system. So when there is a Tatkal ticket, in the span of 1 or 2 minutes, you will see if you try to do some other task, everything is delayed, right? And it may be possible that there are lots of just a simple query request that can be delayed, but because of that, some legitimate person is not able to perform that action. So this actually falls under some disruption of activities. Am I making sense?
Ma'am, some days ago we had our course registration and the server was leaking, lagging very heavily. So would that come under this, like the analysis?
Yes, so there are attack called delay attack. Okay, so when the server delay, when there is a lagging, there is a delay, that is a kind of disruption attack. But let me tell you, if it is unintentional, then we will not consider it under this category. Okay, if it is an intentional disruption of the services, then we will call it as a threat. Okay, suppose the server is too weak to handle 100 users. Okay, or if the server is overburdened, then it is not a threat actually, right? It is a problem with the technical problem with the server, right? But when there is an intentional delay, then we put it under disruption.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, I just want to ask that the thing that Keshav described about the school case, can't we
Mm-hmm.
call it a spoofing attack? Because someone might have just tried to act like from that department to inform the school,
Yeah. So that's what I told, right? This is come under deception. Okay, false
right?
information, right? So it may be called a spoof. Somebody, masqueraded. So somebody from the school and he knows in and out and he want to take some revenge or something like that just for fun. Somebody is doing, right? So he is doing spoofing, and for spoofing, what he make use of a spam message, right? So spoofing can be done into various ways, and each and every snooping can be done into various ways. Phishing attack can be done into various ways, right? So yes, it can be considered it as spoofing. Okay, so let's come to the fourth category, usurpation. So in usurpation, what happened is it is somehow dealt with the privilege escalation attack. Okay, unauthorized privilege escalation. So suppose you are in the MIS, you are all a part of MIS or the user of MIS, and in MIS there is the somehow the bifurcation of roles or the rights to each and every user, right? So for example, if we talk about computer security, maybe you are allowed to see only your marks, but I am allowed to see marks of all the students who are enrolled in computer security, right? But what if some student can accelerate the privilege, okay, and able to see the entire list of marks of all the students which are there in the computer security class? So this is something called privilege escalation. You are not allowed to see marks of other students, but some you launch some attack, or by some means you are actually able to see that. Okay, and once you do that, you can involved in the modification of marks, you can involved in the spoofing also. So as one of you are describing that maybe somebody from the school, right, he just get the privilege of accessing somebody else's school email address, suppose principal's email address, and then he is sending the mail, okay, please evacuate the school, I am getting information of a bomb plant in the school or something like that. Okay, so he get the access of principal email address through which he can mail, so that he looks genuine user, right? So this also come under usurpation. Okay, so spoofing can be usurpation as well if done in that way. Okay, then delay will come under disruption also, because it might be possible that and it happens all the time, if there are some competitive websites of same thing, okay, two different websites, people generally would like to access the website which is much more faster than the other. Okay, so suppose you want to pay electricity bill, or you want to recharge your mobile. Okay, there are many ways to do a mobile recharge. You will choose the way which is very much fast and easy to use, right? And suppose if you are choosing a particular way, which is when you click when you hit on the click button, and it will take too much delay to process your request, because of which it may happen sometimes timeout happens, sometimes payment fail, and this and that, you will just stop using those things, right? So somehow you are disrupting the services of a particular user by delaying effect, right? Similarly, delay can be considered in a usurpation category as well, because it may be possible that you are incorporating the delay through the privilege escalation. You have accelerated your privileges, and by accelerating the privileges, you are delaying, or you are uh, having this denial of service attack. Okay. Any question? Okay, I hope not. So let's move forward. Now these are the attacks. So till now we have discussed about the threats categories. Now let's see specific attacks falls under each category. Okay. So as I told you, when the threat is in action, it is known as attack, right? So the first threat we have discussed, first class we have discussed is disclosure, unauthorized disclosure. Okay, where we gain access of the data for which we are not authorized to. Okay, unauthorized revelation of information. The attack can be called as one attack could be exposure attack. In exposure attack, what happens is sensitive data are directly released to an unauthorized entity. Okay, you are going to, so for example, I have given you the example of this thing. Okay, let's consider any example, like wherever you are putting your sensitive data, and directly that entity is giving that sensitive data to some other user. Any example of this? Can you give me any example?
Ma'am, if we by chance upload a code to GitHub, and let's say that code contains our, let's say, some API key or our API public and private key both in the code somehow by mistake, and something called as GitHub Copilot launched some months ago, where it was a bug that many users reported that when they were using GitHub Copilot, it was picking up the code from other places, and the API keys were also getting copied. So user reported that some API keys are getting copied.
Right,
so it
right.
was a
It is a plain exposure of your information, right? You mistakenly put your data somewhere which is exposed to the public. Okay, so such type of attack are called exposure attack, and they come under unauthorized disclosure category. Then there are interception. So interception also deals with sensitive data, but here an unauthorized entity directly access sensitive data. Okay, in this case, actually when sensitive data is released to an unauthorized entity, but in the other case, unauthorized entity access the sensitive data which is traveling between two authorized users. Okay, so I am sending an email, or Alice is sending an email to Bob, and Eve is somehow intercepting the message which is going on. This is called interception, right? There is another attack called inference. Now, in these two cases, there is a direct dealing of unauthorized user with that sensitive data. However, in case of inference, what happened is, In case of inference, a threat action whereby an unauthorized entity indirectly access sensitive data. Okay, so in this, direct access is not provided, but indirect access is given. And how it could be possible? Okay, and it may be possible that the sensitive data is also not directly given. Okay, so it may be possible that the data which is provided is reasoning from the characteristics or byproduct of the communication. Okay, so for example, a quick example that comes to my mind is when you are browsing the, say, on some e-commerce website, you are browsing, let's say, some electronic gadgets. Okay, you keep on browsing for 2-3 times. What happened? Your this thing, email address, your ads actually, all over the ad which are there on your website will actually having those gadgets in it. Okay, so in this, what actually happening is, you are actually browsing on the e-commerce website and you are browsing a particular thing. Let's say you are browsing a laptop, you want to buy a laptop. So your preferences that you are actually browsing your laptop, it may be possible that you want to buy a laptop. This information, the characteristics of this information is passed to some ad company by the e-commerce website. Okay, so this is called inference. By your actions, you are categorized into a particular category. Suppose you are just keep on searching menswear. Okay, they will somehow categorize you that, okay, the gender of this person or this user is male, so show him the things which are related to male. Are you getting my point? Okay, inferences has been drawn based on some characteristics of what you do. Okay, so this is such attack. Then other attack, the fourth attack that we'll discuss in this category is intrusion attack. Okay, so in intrusion, what happened? An unauthorized entity gained access to sensitive data by circumventing system security. It actually hacked into your system. Okay, so you have some security mechanism in place, but there is some breach, and due to which the unauthorized user actually intrude. So the intruder. Okay, so when there is an intrusion attack, we call the unauthorized entity as intruder. The intruder actually able to gain the access of your system. Okay, and he can see what is there on your system. So this is called intrusion attack. Okay, and all these 4 attacks come under unauthorized disclosure category. Okay, so let's now move to second category, deception category. So now the deception could be for false or fake information to authorized user, right? This is what deception means. Now there are masquerade attack. An unauthorized entity gain access to the system to perform a malicious act by posing an authorized user. This is important. Okay, so when I say masquerading, it is by posing as an authorized user. It seems like the person is an authorized person to send this message or to send this information, but actually he is an unauthorized entity. Okay, and therefore false or fake information involves. Okay, so masquerade attack, posing somebody else. Then there is an attack called falsification. So the attack that one of the student has mentioned, it could be a masquerade attack. Okay, somebody from the school is mailing. There could be a falsification. False data deceives an authorized entity. Okay, the data given to the authorized entity is false. Then there is a repudiation attack, where an entity deceives another by falsely denying responsibility for that. He will say, okay, my account has been hacked. I don't know who sent this message, but I am not the one who is sending this message. Okay, so somehow we are denying the responsibility of the act that we actually did. Okay, so this also comes under deception category. Any question? Okay, so now let's come to disruption. Now disruption, if you remember, it deals with somehow interrupting or preventing some sort of services which are provided by the system, or some sort of functions which are there in the system. Okay, so few examples of attack is incapacitation, which actually prevent system operation by disabling system component. Okay, so suppose I am not, I would like to make an account on a particular website, but I am not able to make that account on the website. Why? Because there was some attack launched on that website, and the component which is responsible for registering me to the website has been disabled. Yeah, right. Sometimes you may came across that OTP is not coming. Okay, so you need OTP to enter into the system, but OTP generation component is not working properly, and you are not able to get the OTP. Okay, so this comes under incapacitation. It actually disrupts the services which are provided by the server or by the system in general. Okay, then comes the corruption. Corruption means undesirable alter system operations by adversary modifying system function or data. They actually corrupt your data, or they actually corrupt the corruption with the functions of the system could happen. Okay, so some example could be, suppose you rely on some third party cloud service which actually guarantees that you just upload the things there and they will maintain the things, and whenever you need it you can take those data from there, but some attack has been happened to the server and all your data will be lost. Okay, so this type of attack comes under corruption. And so undesirable alter system operations by adversely modifying system functions or data. Okay, then there is another attack called obstruction attack. A threat action that interrupts delivery of system services by hindering system operation. You are not able to get the desired service, okay, because of the hindrance. It could be a denial of service sort of a thing or delaying sort of a thing. Okay, there are many obstructions in between. You are not able to perform the action that you want to perform. Okay, or the system is not able to deliver the system service which actually the system promised to do so, right? Okay, so these are these comes under a disruption attack. Then there is usurpation. Usurpation means privilege escalation, and it could be misappropriation or misuse, where an entity assumes unauthorized logical or physical control of the system. Okay, they get maybe the physical control of the system or logical control of the system. Okay, either they get the credentials of the system to log in and do some misuse the system, or they actually get the physical access of the system. Similarly, misuse. It may be possible that you rely on some server or some service which promise to keep your personal information safe with them, but actually they are misusing it. Okay, so they are doing something unauthorized. They are not allowed to do so. They are actually escalating their privileges, and they are maybe distributing your images without your information, somehow misusing the things that they actually are supposed not to do. Okay. Yes, so these are the few attacks which are related with the threat, right? So there are a few more attacks. So let me quickly take you through all those attacks. Eavesdropping, as we already discussed, it is related with the disclosure of the information. Okay, so Alice and Bob talking with each other, but there is this person Eve which is actually listening or eavesdropping the information which is going out on this particular channel. Okay, this also can be called as man in the middle attack. Okay, another example is alteration. So in the previous example, there is just disclosure of information. It may be possible that the attacker or the man in the middle person will modify that information. Okay, so here sender send encrypted information. What attacker did, attacker decrypt the information and encrypt it with some other key. Okay, so there is a secret key inside this. He send a different secret key and send the data to the recipient. Okay, so when we cover cryptographic tool techniques, you are able to know that in this scenario now, all the communication given or taken by this recipient, actually attacker can read those communication, okay, to and from both. Then denial of service, as I already told you, email spamming. Okay, there are lots and lots of messages which are came to Alice, such that she is not able to read the genuine message. Okay, so this is denial of service. Example is email spamming. Then there is masquerading attack. Okay, so this person you can see is actually Eve. Okay, but somehow she can masquerade herself to become Alice. Maybe she can use her credentials, or she can use some sort of the secret key which belongs to Alice, or some or the other way. Okay, so that people will think that this person is actually Alice, but the person is actually Eve. Okay, so this is called impersonating herself. Okay, and the attack is called masquerading attack. Then there is this repudiation attack, where denial of commitment or denial of data recipient is deleted. Okay, I am sending a message and I deny, I back out that no, I have not sent this particular thing. You receive the data, you back out, you have not received the data. Okay, so such type of attack comes under repudiation. Then there is a correlation and traceback attack. Okay, so I think we have 2 minutes. Let me quickly complete this. There are some attacks which occurred with correlation and traceback techniques. Okay, so what does this mean? Let me explain you by giving a quick example. Suppose we are having a data set. Okay, suppose COVID-19 data set, Indian COVID-19 data set is there, and it is the data set which contain lots and lots of information about each and every person who has been through COVID-19 disease. Okay, now what this data set may contain: the name of the person, the gender of the person, the address of the person, the phone number of the person, the zip code of the person, maybe age of the person, right? And many more information, many more personal information. What are the symptoms, etc., etc. What are the treatment given, who is the doctor, where he is admitted, etc., etc. Lots and lots of information, right? Now suppose there was some research that needs to be conducted on the data set. Okay, and you all are witnessing that there are lots and lots of research that has been going on this area. So if people will release this data set, or government will release this data set as it is, what is the problem? What could be the problem?
The individuals will be doxxed and socially outcast in a way.
Right. So personal or private identity or personal information of an individual can be hampered. Okay, so this is a privacy violation, right? So what people do? People apply de-anonymization technique. De-anonymization of data. By de-anonymization, we actually try to anonymize the data. Okay, anonymize. How we can anonymize? What we can do? We will remove name. We will remove, gender and age may be required. We will remove the address in particular. Okay, we just put postal zip code, maybe zip code. We put age. We can put gender. We can put. So few information through which a person can be uniquely identified should be removed. Okay, and a generic data set can be thrown. But the problem here is, in the hope that nobody will, now identify a particular person. So there were few attacks. What in those attacks, what they will do is, see, there are another data set, let's say voter ID data set out there, or Aadhaar card data set is also out there. It has name of a person, maybe gender of the person, zip code of the person, age of the person, and few other details. Okay. And maybe we are having few more such data set, different type of data set, which is having some different things. What people do is, people try to correlate these data sets. Okay, they establish a correlation between these data sets, let's say age and zip code. Okay, and maybe gender. Okay, so these are the three information which is common in both the data set. So using this common data set, can we identify a particular person by having some sort of correlation between these data sets? Can we trace back a particular person? Okay, and these attacks are happening lots and lots of time, and there were a very great research which is going on in this de-anonymization of data and re-de-anonymization of data, things like that. Okay, but the overall idea I would like to tell here is this: when I say correlation and traceback attack, it means it is the integration of multiple data sources and information. Okay, so when we integrate multiple data sources and information to determine the source of a particular data stream, to determine about a particular user, okay, such type of attack is called correlation and traceback attack.